My name is Dr. Desiree Rowe, and I'm an assistant professor of communication studies here at USC Upstate. I teach a lot of our core classes, research methods, senior seminar, and some of our upper division classes here at Upstate. I was in the QEP FDI cohort the first summer that it was introduced, and I think the most interesting part of it was sort of the newness and excitement of it. It was something really unique that I hadn't heard Upstate was doing before, and it was really cool to see an infusion of classroom learning and sort of notions of digital citizenship, which I thought were really exciting. Well, initially for the Step Up program, the general education class that I was working on was SPCH 201, which is our general education public speaking class. And so I've been using sort of more technological approaches in the classroom for that class. So that's significantly changed the assignments that I've done, but also that sort of bled out into the other courses that I've taught. So to use technology in really different and unique ways for my upper division classes as well. I think the coolest part of using technology in the classroom is twofold. First, I think that it gives the students a lot more voice. It gives them a larger range of topics, tools, applications to choose from. So you really get to see the stylistics of the student much more than a traditional, for example, oratorical style persuasive speech. So they really get to sort of spread their wings a lot more. So assignments come in that are much more unique and vibrant than you may see in the traditional public speaking setting. And the second thing is that it gives students who aren't necessarily vocal in the classroom in one-on-one interactions, it really gives them an opportunity to speak out in a new way. Sort of that theme of voice again, using their voice through technology. That's a great question. And so this is the second semester I've used the QEP Step Up sort of philosophy in my public speaking class. The first semester that I did it, I was really open about telling them that this was a technology intensive section of public speaking. And I think that that was a mistake. I think that even saying the word intensive in relationship to technology was probably disconcerting to say the least and horrifying for some of the students. So what I did this semester to sort of rectify that was I'm not even telling them that it's a technology intensive section. So they sort of normalizes technology in the classroom, which is a good positive thing. And it's gotten sort of a much better reception than it did last semester. So I'm trying to work through this issue that I had with intensiveness. The first semester they weren't thrilled, but I think it was because of how I was sort of framing it. But this semester they're much more engaged. It really, again, benefits students that are a bit more, have a higher degree of communication apprehension in the classroom. It really helps them open up a lot more. I think again, so the communication apprehension and public speaking, so it really allows students that are maybe more shy in the classroom to express themselves in the same way that students that are much more vocal in the classroom have the space to do. But second, it also brings the students and I together in a really interesting way because at times, for example, I use SoundCloud to upload some of their podcasts. At times, their SoundCloud wouldn't be uploading correctly. So that was an issue that I didn't have the answer automatically to, where in a traditional classroom setting, sort of the sage on the stage model, the professor is sort of expected to know what's going on. When in fact, if you use technology to move to that sort of guide on the side model, the professor and the students work together to figure out the answers. And I think that that really helps the classroom environment. I think that assumes that I keep up with the advancements in technology. I don't know, living life. I like trying out new things, and so I'll mess around with something and maybe stupidly sign up for something. Now that they'll send me emails for the rest of my life, but no, just messing around and playing around. Do you mean like the number of devices that I see present, or the variety of devices that are in the classroom?
Both.
Okay. Yes, but my answer is yes to both of those questions. A lot of students have devices, but I think that that was probably already in place before we started the initiative. But seeing a wide variety of devices is, people have from Android tablets to, iPads to everything in between. Yeah, there's a lot of different and unique stuff that comes in. I use my laptop a lot of times to use like different types of interesting technology that I can use through the Mac, especially. I use Prezi. I'd love, and I have a dream to use my iPad in the classroom, but we need to get Apple TVs in our rooms upstairs in HPAC before we can do that. Yeah, I do. I just have to ask the right people. So perhaps Dr. Williams is one of those people I should ask. Okay. Consider this a formal request.
Okay.
That's a really good question too. I don't know necessarily how useful an initiative is without things to back it up. So I don't know necessarily that the force of our initiative is lended credibility without some sort of widespread implementation program. And I don't think that we have that. So it would be much nicer to see more sections of classes along campus adopting that. Second, well, I think it's really awesome that we are lending validity to the notion that our students should be digital citizens within a global environment. It is difficult to do that without creating some sort of commons. So some sort of common approach to how we engage technology in the classroom. And we don't really have that either. So it's widespread, the different sort of philosophical approaches to how technology should be engaged. Like texting on their phones or iPads or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, that's super annoying. Yeah, it happens more when you have students bring devices in the classroom. Also, I just am not a fan of like Facebook pages for classes and stuff like that. I think that those intersections are potentially problematic. Then I'm not willing to do that. Well, if you could sort of come up with some sort of block to Facebook in the class or Twitter or Instagram, that would be awesome, but that's not possible. Well, you just be aware and you're just really cognizant of what your students are doing. Make sure that the classes are engaged, and, sort of let people know that that's unacceptable in this space, that we're not going to be doing that. That's a difficult question to answer because I think that the answer to that question is unique based on the professor. Because we're not, like I mentioned earlier, we sort of don't have a larger philosophy about how we're going to work through Step Up or the BYOD campaign. It's difficult to answer that question because you don't know the level of commitment that the individual professor is going to have. So I know what my colleagues and I do here in comm studies, but I'm not necessarily sure what folks are doing in biology or informatics or history. So it's difficult to sort of see where the tendrils reach over 5 years because we don't have sort of a common understanding. It would be really cool if I just feel like a lot of the processes that we have at the university would be much more streamlined if they were online. For example, some of the administrivia stuff that we have to do would be much better served if it used technology to do it. If the classroom technology was on par with the demands that the BYOD or Step Up program asked us to have in the classroom. So it's difficult, for example, in a classroom if, technology is an initiative, yet I can't play a 30-second YouTube video without it stuttering for a minute and a half. So if those two things were even, that would be much better. I don't know why some professors have embraced it while others haven't. I think maybe some are more in tune to technology and change than others. Some are more comfortable with technology than others. But I think a way to get everyone involved would be to incentivize the program, be honest with the requirements of the program to make sure that we all are on the same page, and really sort of mark the importance of critical digital engagement, because I think that that's missed sometimes. I think it sometimes gets put across as, look at this shiny new thing that we should use in the classroom, rather than sort of the foundations, the epistemology of why we're doing what we're doing. I have a specific story about how technology in the classroom really benefited. For my final exam for my public speaking class, their assignment is give a speech. It could be whatever sort of speech style that we've learned with that in the course of the semester, but give a speech giving advice to future public speaking students. And so historically, that speech has been presented in the classroom during the final exam time. But now, because I've sort of we started using a lot more technology in the classroom, I've created a WordPress site that they can have the choice to have the speech in the classroom, or they can record it and upload it to YouTube to go on the WordPress site. So now I have this history of speeches giving advice to public speaking students. So it's really cool because when you start a new semester, you can open the class with some of the speeches that were given for the final exam last semester. So it's sort of a feeling of communitas, or community, when the new students watch the old students, and folks get to sort of get an idea of what will be expected of them from the mouths of students over the course of a semester. Using technology in the classroom, like I mentioned earlier, really sort of levels the playing field. And so I began to understand my students, and this sounds really contradictory, right? Like, using technology in the classroom may distance you from your students. I think that that's sort of the sort of dominant understanding of technology in the classroom. There's this sort of digital divide and blah, 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 blah. But I think the opposite has happened. I think using technology in the classroom brings us together sort of around a common goal. We want to get this project done. We want to get this thing completed, and we all watch it together and enjoy it together. So it really, again, creates that sense that we're moving forward in a desire for learning and understanding on the level playing field. I don't know. I really like, see, and you're still asking me for it. Like, pick something cool that you like. I really like applications like VoiceThread, which allow us to have conversations in our own voice, because I think that's important, especially in online classes, that we can hear each other's voice and meet each other. Things like Google Hangouts, where you can talk and actually see people, really help let you know that there's a body behind that keyboard, those words that you're just saying. So tools like that really do help create that notion of community and citizenship. See, that question, I think, gets to the heart at some of the problematics of the BYOD initiative. Sort of the emphasis on the tangible device rather than a larger understanding of digital citizenship, ethical use of online tools. I think that people sometimes especially get focused on like the flashiness of my cool MacBook Pro, rather than an underlying understanding of a digital commons, for example, and the importance of sort of creating that foundation before we throw new shiny tools at people. So that's something that I hope we can work on, is creating that strong foundation before we add, no, let's have our students use 30 different apps in one semester, because I think that's really overwhelming for both the instructor and the student. Rather than that, let's first come up with an understanding of what digital citizenship is, or a digital commons, or how we can use technology ethically. And then let's work through different devices and see how they meet those standards or not in relationship to the course content. I think it's awesome that you guys are doing this. This is really a cool idea. And I do think that the Step Up program is in its infancy. And because of that, there are, of course, some things to work out. But as it sort of spreads, hopefully good things will happen from there.
Great. Excellent. Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Rowe.
Thank you. I appreciate it.